Well, good afternoon everybody. Welcome back to the Life's Good. And it's only 24 hours since my last video, but I've been busy. I've carried on doing the cleaning and tidying up in the garden. The weather's been absolutely superb, although it's been very, very cold. It was bitterly cold overnight, bitterly cold this morning. It got down to about -2, I believe, -2, 2.5. However, I've carried on, and there was a few things that came up during my tidying exercise that I thought I would share with you guys. So I've put this video together quite quickly to share some things with you. You'll note during this, actually, there was a few pings and dings on the video. That was because I was using my telephone to record the videos, and there were a few messages and alerts came in, which unfortunately were picked up by the microphone, so hopefully that doesn't spoil your viewing too much. So watch the video. Any comments at the end would be gratefully received, good or bad, and yeah, it's nice to be busy in the garden. Well, this is another pruning task that I have to do in the spring. In front here you can see, just in front of the pond filter, this is a buddleia, and the buddleia is an excellent shrub, bush, small tree that attracts bees, hoverflies and butterflies into the garden during the summer. Excellent source of nectar for the butterflies and bees. However, it does need to be pruned back quite heavily every spring, in order to encourage further growth and for it to send up new branches with new flower fronds. Now, as with the other pruning, I use secateurs, and also I use these loppers. As with the secateurs, I clean these with methylated spirit after use. They're a few years old now, but they serve the purpose. They're still very sharp. I do keep them sharp. But the buddleia, now, as I said, it needs to be pruned heavily. Now you can already see it's got a lot of growth on here and a lot of new buds and leaves. And if I don't prune it, it will become too overgrown. It will hang all over the garden, over the neighbour's fence, and become straggly and unkempt. So, as I said, every year we prune it back quite vigorously. Now with these, I use these because I don't want to stretch my secateurs, and I don't want to damage my secateurs or blunt them. And these stems are quite thick and very woody. But if you can see buds. I don't know if I'm in your way, but you can see buds. I'll tell you what I'll do, guys. I'll just lift you down a second and show you these buds and where I cut. So just bear with me a second and I'll lift you off. Right, now and then, here we are. We're close up now to this buddleia, and you can see on the stems, these little buds, these growths coming out here will form branches. Not just leaf clusters, but they actually will form branches. That is the rootstock right down the bottom there. It's been pruned previously, as you can see. There are various stems sticking out there that have been pruned back. But all this extra growth now needs to come off, and you can see the remains of the old flower fronds on the end of there. So looking back down here, I will come up about 3, maybe 2 or 3 buds, and like for example this one here, if I can just get in and show you, right down in there, that one there, I will cut off at an angle just above that bud. Now that is 1, 2, that's 3 up from the base. So I'll cut it off there, similarly on the other branches, and prune this right back until it's sort of a bit like a hand shape of 4 or 5 stems sticking up like an upturned hand. Right, so here we go. I'll try not to fall in the pond here, guys, but as I said, those buds, 1, 2, 3. Now that looks quite severe, but actually it will promote a lot of new growth. And this shrub, bush, I'll just drag these out of the way so you can see what it looks like now, guys. As I said, it looks quite severe. You're not going to harm the plant in any way, shape or form. But there's one over the back there. Just get that. Right. So looking back there now, you can see that that is like an upturned hand. You've got your 4 or 5 stems with shoots and buds on. And that will fill this space again this year. Now I know it does look extreme. It does look quite severe. But believe me, the plant will benefit and you get lots of fresh new growth with lots of new flower fronds on the end, which will benefit the bees, the butterflies, hoverflies and many other insects and attract them into your garden. I thought you might find this of interest. We've just been discussing the pruning of various shrubs and plants prior to this season's growth. I've put together a few bits and pieces to show you that actually with some of these cuttings you can actually produce new plants, whether they're for yourself or to give to friends or family. It's quite a straightforward method. I'm not an expert in propagation, but I do find that sometimes this is successful. I've got together a few bits and pieces just to show you. This is actually my methylated spirit. I use this for sterilizing the blades of my secateurs and scissors that I use to cut these plants and prune these plants. I do not want to transfer any disease or any bacteria or any other issues from plant to plant. So I always clean my blades, my secateurs and scissors, even my pocket knife, with the methylated spirit. Now, apart from the cutting tools, I've got a little pot of rooting powder here. This is a particular variety, a hormone rooting powder. There's a different one here. It's a different manufacturer. There are many on the market. You look in the garden centres and other places, you'll find those. I find that helps the plants, or the cuttings rather, to produce roots a little quicker. This is the buddleia cutting, or one of the buddleia cuttings, and all I do with this one, you can see these little stems coming off here. There's one there, there's a small one there, there's several small ones on here. All I do is I pull that down, pull it back on itself, so you get that sort of healed, you can see that there, it's just like a healed spur on there. That now I need to coat in rooting powder. Now I do not put the plant in here, because if there is an issue on the bottom of this, I'm going to put it into my hormone, and that could then transfer to another plant. So I just put a little bit of the hormone in the lid here, just a little bit, you don't need much. Okay, so I got a little bit of hormone in here, and I'm going to dip the base of that plant, or that cutting, in that little bit of powder, just like that. So you've got a little bit of a coating on there, and I'm going to pop this into a small pot. Now I've got a couple of pots here. That pot contains just a normal multi-purpose compost. I've already moistened it, and all I'm going to do is to pop that straight into the soil next to there. Now one thing I do, just to help the plant produce many shoots, is I will pinch out the top. It's a bit difficult, guys, but just pinch out the top there, and that little stem should now produce roots and a new plant. As I said, it's a bit experimental, but that's one. You can carry on and do others. There's several in here I can do. I'll just pull that one back. It's got a bud on the bottom, as you can see. I'm just going to pull that bud off, and I'm going to dip this sort of jagged heel spur end into that rooting compound. Now this branch is actually a little bit sort of bit more woody. I'll have a job to pinch that, so what I'll show you I do, I'm going to push it into the side of the pot there, and using my secateurs just above one of those buds there, I'm just going to snip that off there. We don't want that bit, although you could possibly, if you wanted to, dip that in compound and plant that. In fact, I think I'll do that just to see if it's successful. So here we go again. Dip it into the rooting compound. This hormone based compound helps to encourage the formation of roots, and pop it in the side of that pot. Now I've actually got 3 in there now. I'm just going to snip the top off of that one. Not very easy to cut that one, a bit small, but that one now, that little pot now has 3 buddleia cuttings in it. You never know, 1 or 2 of those might take and grow. They usually do. So I get another buddleia bush. Now I just want to wipe my secateurs. Just going to get a bit of spirit on my cloth here. Here we go. And I'll just wipe those down now with the methylated spirit, because I've been pruning that buddleia. And what I'm going to do now is show you this fuchsia. I took some cuttings off of my perennial fuchsia, and in the same way as I propagate the buddleia, I'm going to try and propagate some of this fuchsia, so I get another fuchsia plant. Now this particular stem here is actually better. Just looking at this, there's all sorts of little side shoots on this one coming out, down here in particular. These look really good. I could use those. Now in the same way as I did with the buddleia, okay, I'm going to pull that stem off of there. Now this actually has got a couple of stems in it, so I'm going to do the same with that one. Pull that off of there. Little bit of rooting compound. Pull off the side leaves. I always do that just to clean those off and get it down into the soil, and push it into the side of that pot. So that is a little fuchsia cutting, and the remains of this stem, just going to pull that off of there, remove a couple of these side leaves, a little bit of the rooting compound, just to encourage the formation of some roots, we hope, and pop that one in the side of there. You probably get 2 or even 3 little cuttings in these pots. They're about a 3-inch by 4-inch deep pot. There's a couple of fuchsia cuttings in there now, so we've got a couple of 3 buddleias and a couple of fuchsias. So I will not put this compound back in that pot. I've been dipping plants in there. I'm going to continue and do a couple of others. Now the other thing I did was I pruned my bay. I've got a culinary bay which is getting a little bit out of hand, and I've had to prune that this morning. And I'm going to try and dry some of these leaves in order to keep them in the kitchen in an airtight jar, and use them in my cooking in the future. And I'll pop indoors and show you a method I use for drying these leaves in readiness for storage in the kitchen. Well, I hope you found that interesting, guys. It seems a shame just to clip all these branches and things off of your plants and throw them away, when in fact, with a little bit of effort, a little bit of thought and preparation, you can actually produce several more plants from these cuttings. You could produce quite a few if you wanted, pass them on to friends and family, and or even just fill in gaps in your own garden around your home. Right, well, we'll move on. I've got plenty of other things to do, and I'll take you along with me and show you what I'm up to. Well, I finished outside for a little while, popped in for a cup of tea, and whilst I'm in here, I thought I would start drying some of my bay leaves that I'd pruned. Now, I did mention I've pruned my culinary bay. It's against the wall just outside the kitchen window. These are some of the branches that I've brought in from that bay, and I'm going through these. There's a leaf come off there. That is a very good bay leaf. There's nothing wrong with it. It's got no blemishes, no holes, no insect damage, and from what I can see, no disease. That's a good leaf, and I would like to preserve that leaf for use in my cooking. So I've got some kitchen tissue, household tissue here. And what I do is I put these, it's a method I picked up from some guys on, I've seen them on YouTube, I've seen it on other places, drying the leaves to preserve them for future use in the kitchen. And all I do is I lay that leaf down flat on that piece of tissue, and adjacent to it another one. Now you have to keep checking these. Do not use any diseased or insect eaten leaves. The reason being that if there's anything gotten inside this leaf, a virus, bacteria, anything like that, that the insect or the disease has left, it may not store very well. They can rot, go a horrible musty sort of state. So you want the best of these leaves in order to dry them. So keep checking them, only keep the best ones and use the best ones. I've got quite a few good ones on here. As you can see, there's another good one. Beautiful bay leaves. These are amazing in cooking. I very often just pop outside, take a few off and put them in my my cooking. They're great in curries and other similar dishes. Now you see, there's another one, perfect. I'll show you this one here. This one on the side of here. You can see this leaf here is actually got blemishes. You can see just at this point here, it's got a blemish there, and further here there's more. Looking on the back, yeah, there's a few patches on the back here. That, it looks like a bit of a diseased leaf. I would not try and dry that. It may not be successful and might just rot on the tissue. So we'll just get rid of that one. Going through, just keep snipping off, looking, check your leaves. There's another really good one. So you line them or lay them on these tissues. There's another nice, very large leaf, that one, but perfect condition. Lay it on your tissue. I'm seeing there's another damaged one here. This one in particular, you're seeing that. I'll just show you this one. That is no good for storing at all. It's been damaged. It's got what looks like the remains of some disease on here. That is not suitable for drying and storing. So we discard that one. If we look at these, I'll see if I can find any more. That's a nice looking leaf. Again, there's no blemishes, there's nothing on here. There's a little bit in the corner. Looking a bit closer now, it's actually got some pitting and some bits on the bottom. So actually I'm a bit loath to use that one. So I'll push that to one side. As I said, it's the better leaves, the really good quality leaves that you want to dry. That one's okay. And once you've got them on your tissue, here, there's another one there. No, got a bit of damage there. You see, it's surprising when you go through and you start looking closely, you start to see things that ordinarily you've missed. That's a good leaf. So I've got 8 nice leaves on there, and what I will do is take another tissue, kitchen tissue, and lay it on the top of there, just to keep them separate from one another. You don't want to put them touching. So as you can see on here, I've left gaps between them. So leave a gap between them, they're not touching. Put the other tissue on top. You can put another set of leaves on another sheet of tissue. And once you've completed that, you need to put them somewhere warm and dry. And it would take I don't know, a week to 2 weeks, I guess, for those to dry out. And you can tell when they are ready. When you fold them and squeeze them, they become crispy, whereas a fresh leaf is quite oily and smooth and just folds and rolls quite well, whereas the dried ones become crispy and make a crispy noise when you fold them. So point to note, they will be ready when they are nice and dry, and then you can put them into an airtight container. I haven't got one to show you. Yes, I have. I've just got this jar here. It's got an airtight lid. It's got like a suction, there you go, fit on the top of there. Something like this would be ideal. Pop your dried leaves in and keep them sealed in there, and you just take them out and use them in your cooking as and when you want to. So that's one way to preserve your bay leaves. Well guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you again soon in the Life's Good. So be safe, be happy, come back soon. Bye bye now.